Release the idea that you need to find truth. Release the idea you need to look inside. Feel. As I said before, what's the mind saying? Every limited thought your mind says, release it. Say no. I'm
Mhm.
more than that. Choose I am more than that, rather than keep choosing I am less. At whatever level you are, choose I am more, not I am less.
Welcome to Take on Knowing, where we explore the hidden, obscured, and often even obvious, but hidden in plain sight to arrive at the truth in order to assist the collective by raising the consciousness of the one, ergo, the many. Today, I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak further with Lee Mudway, co-founder and speaker for GPMS World, or the Global People's Monetary System, which is about way more than a monetary system, as you will come to understand as we get deeper and deeper into today's interview. Thank you for watching and for every positive contribution you make to the collective consciousness, as we are all ultimately one, united in our intentions for the return of truth and freedom for humanity. Without further ado, let's welcome Lee Mudway, co-founder and speaker for GPMS World, to take on knowing.
Hello.
Lee Mudway,
But
welcome. Welcome. It's so great to see you again. It's been over a year since we had a chance to get together and chat about you, about what you're doing, about GPMS, and where we're all headed. And I am so excited to be able to have this conversation with you today. And in our little preamble, we've decided we're going to go in deep. So hang on to your hats, everyone. We're going in deep. Welcome, Lee.
thank you so much, beautiful sister. And I'm looking forward to it, because I honestly don't know where we're going to go with this, but I do know where we've been, let's say, and what we've learned. So let's bring some of that to the table right now, and take that and extrapolate upon it, dig into it. Let's see what we can find in it, as opposed to what a lot of other people are talking to, which a lot of it doesn't make any sense to me, as I'm sure it doesn't make much sense to you now. These distractions have become, they're not really getting us anywhere. So let's see what we can come out of this with. Thank you. Let's see. Over to you. Let's start this off with what you think we should start with. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So I just got on the GPMS site, and you have 79,352 members right now. We're just a tick short of 80,000, which is quite the accomplishment. So how is GPMS doing? What is the overall game plan at this point, since you've reached that quantity of numbers? And let's just talk about it from that point of view to begin with.
GPMS, it's let's start with, some may not know what GPMS is. Let's start with
Absolutely.
that ever so quickly. It's the Global People's Monetary System. It's a name for something which is much more than the name. It also is Global People's Monetary System and Simplified Divine Law. That's its name, but its name doesn't give it credit. What GPMS is an instrument of change. It's a vehicle for ones to unite towards a unified decision that enables equality and benevolence for the whole of humanity, not just one, not just two. And it takes away this existing system that is causing oppression, malevolent system, and introduces a benevolent system, which is totally non-loopable. There's two major keys with GPMS before we continue. The major keys are that each who joins GPMS, each unites, is agreeing that they are the value. They are the value. They are they've seen that material value and gold and all of these other things that they want to back, and the capitalistic system and economies of trade and profit and loss just does not work. And the vast majority of people, 85% at the moment, in lack across the world, it's not serving them, it's serving a few. And the major problem with this is the externalization of value. So what GPMS says is you are the value. Each and every one of you is unlimited by definition of your birth here to your value. And we will unite that value together and utilize money and all of the existing systems to benevolently benefit every single human, every single soul on the planet. Secondary is the use of divine law, as opposed to this legality and all of the other laws which tie everybody up in knots on a two-dimensional playground of paper. He who owns the paper controls the world. And that's two-dimensional. That's not 3 or 4 or 5. That's not a higher being. That's savage and barbaric. So introducing divine law under the auspice of do no harm enables honor and morality and self-worth to be garnered alongside the assumption of your own intrinsic value. Then you honor that value and you honor it and share it equally with everybody else. And this is the way the new world is going to start to look as we move forward. So GPMS itself now has we've been around, and as people have seen all sorts of different ways in which they are trying and attempting to fix the system. But the system is corrupt, the system is savage and evil at its core, and there is no fix to it. It's doing exactly what it should do. And in respect to the system, it's actually reflecting most people's fears. The system is enhancing and exacerbating each's fears, and it's doing it with impunity. This can't stop. This can't continue. So what we've seen now is a rapid or more rapid growth over the last year, and there is a substantial increase in areas in the Southeast Asia, in India, where once many millions and billions of people have been through this much more in a poverty and extreme poor state than maybe a lot in the West have. And they are looking for a significant systemic change. And they are at the moment the driving force of the numbers behind GPMS. And we've got many millions more. We just need to get the voice out to them, and they will choose to unite. And this collective voice will grow. With the collective voice comes the collective energetic that brings with it. Plus, it's legally, rightfully, truthfully, lawfully then ratified as a collection of a vote for a systemic change. So yes, it's brilliant. It's wonderful. We've been watching it growing. We've been watching it moving. It's been slow, but the figures are growing, and we know we've got millions more that are ready, but we just need the assistance with the ones that are coming in to continue growing organically. So sorry for the little bit of a rant and a banter, ramble, but that's a little bit of an outline of where we are with GPMS without going too deep into it.
That's fantastic. No, thank you so much, and very much needed. I just assume that everybody knows, because I do.
Well, if they don't, they do, right? Now a little bit at least.
and if they don't, they should. Well, and if they didn't, they do now. So there you go.
Yes.
Before we get further into that, we said we were going to go deep today. So I have a question. Who created the system, Lee? Was it
the system?
Yes, who created the system? So are we talking about, I mean, there are all kinds of theories. I mean, personally, I don't believe true human beings are capable of the kind of abuses that are being perpetrated on other human beings at this point in time. So I believe there was some interference, and in order to create this, and millennia ago, where are we in that, the dissolution of those interferences or the intervention, and where do you see this going, and how do you see that unfolding? So the core issue is that system. Who created it? What are we doing about it?
The system is a continuation of existing things. It's a slave system. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's a slave system. Who created slave systems? Slave owners. the malevolence to it is the degree to which the demonics and the other entities harvested the human energetics. But in general, the constructs and the other ones that are in those positions, the empty vessels, the shells, and some humans in there too that have just lost their ways. But generally, the ones that are that we can see are the ones that are empty, and they have no compassion or empathy. They don't care. They're just serving higher forces. Well, it used to be higher forces, and themselves. At the expense of the people, but that's what they're paid to do, and that's what they get paid to do. So that's what they did. The nature of that is the same as a snake. It's venomous. That's what it does. The belief that is not the case is a human trait, whereby they give benefit of the doubt and can't believe something would be that evil. And that's the emotional manipulation that's being carried out. So those that have got no emotion, those that don't care, can emotionally manipulate those that do, i.e. the souls, to perform their tasks for them under the auspices that they are looking after them. But this goes further back. We could look at it. Let's take it straight into this one, but I'm not going to go into detail. There was a fall of Gaia, the planet, from a frequential fall, lost frequency, and fell through dimensional space. From what we understand and from what I understand, and this is I can only speak to what I believe to be true. It wasn't foreseen that this would occur prior to the fall. There was something, whatever. I would call it a mistake, an error, whatever it is. It doesn't make any difference. What happened after that fall was not foreseen, and it was not chosen by the soul group, soul, whatever. It doesn't make any difference with that. So all of the things since the fall were not soul growth. They were not chosen for the soul. They were chosen by another to drain the souls of those that were here. So really, all that's happened doesn't matter, because all of it will cease to exist. It's not necessary. It was never necessary. And the ascension that we're going through right now, if you imagine the planet fell down through the frequencies, from wherever she was down to a lower frequency, which we would call hell. It's now somewhere near purgatory at the top of those frequencies, and above that would be heaven. She's been in this area for an awful long time, with souls here that have chosen now to raise with her back to a frequency of purity and harmony. What we're seeing right now is the release of all of the lower energetics, and we're seeing the remnants of it remaining on the planet right now, with the human souls who are so worthless in their own sense of belief, that are trying to prop them up by saying we need to maintain them, and we need to maintain this because we need that, otherwise everybody's going to kill each other. Of course, it's not true. That's what's been imparted. So effectively, there's been a drop, and there's a rise coming back up. But the rise going back up that we're on now, we are on that trajectory now, is uncharted relatively. It's not been experienced before. So there was a time, and I've been involved in this, where we could watch time going backwards. We could watch events that had happened in ancient times replaying themselves in reverse. So we could see things happening on the planet. As I say, I'm not going to go into detail, but we could see events around the planet, energetics around the planet that were actually going backwards in reverse. So we could see that sort of rewind, even though it wasn't effectively. It was a putting back to what was in that area. That's got to a point and then stopped, because from that point onwards, it's all uncharted. This is where we are now. It's not a case of going back through all of that. All of that's gone now. We are back at a point where we can rise from it without reoccurring it. But in the remnants of the darkness and in the remnants of these timelines, humanity themselves are now finding that they have to individually stand up and garner their value back, their soul light, their love, if you will, their faith and trust in themselves is being tested now to a point, and there's two distinct timelines. There's the lower timeline, which is going to go through a period of reconciliation, let's call it that, calibration and realization, and there's a higher timeline which is raising and creating the new space and holding the new space for our brothers and sisters down here to rise into, without the fears, without the negativity, and with the value and the worth that they are truly worth, not what they think, but what they actually are. So we're in this area right now. If that, I think that meandered a little bit, but it gave a sort of idea of what's happening and the rise back up, and we're right on the cusp of something incredible, and for it's the most benevolent thing that could, I get tears. It's the most benevolent thing that creation could do. Let's call it that. The most benevolent thing that creation could do is what's occurring here, in my opinion. But that's the way I see it. In taking all that away and starting afresh and wiping the slate. But it takes each to act. This is not being done for anybody. It's being done by everybody. And there is a large contingent that is assisting, but each must do their own work. And this is where we are finding it's plateaued a little bit, let's say.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about critical mass. Thank you for all of that, though, Lee. That's brilliant. So if I can just get things sort of straight in my mind, I think that'll help other people sort of get things sort of have an inner picture of what's going on. So you talked about the shells, the no compassion ones, right? Are you talking about the non-player characters? Are you talking the ones who are so damaged that they can't see their way through to discernment, making choices that are helping themselves truly, rather than taking advantage of others? I wanted to know how you see this. So what's like the percentage of those who are going to be holding the vibe, let's say, for other brothers and sisters to come up and to be able to transform? Does the non-player character thing fit into your understanding whatsoever? And how do you believe critical mass will be achieved in order to make that jump start? And what can I do to help?
NPCs, well, we can call them what we will, background characters, filler characters, whatever. Most of them are meant in a certain line of chat are innocuous. They're just part of the game. But there's other more fundamental characters that are not non-playing characters. They are part of the game that were installed by pure demonics, pure evil. And what many don't understand is the depth to which evil is here. Many believe this is something else, but because many haven't seen it, or they've ignored it, or they don't wish to see it, doesn't mean to say it's not here. And if all you've got to do is look at the malevolence to which the system works without putting rose-tinted glasses on it, and all the criminal justice systems and how much they will penalize those that speak the truth, for instance, to see the depth of that. And many are damaged. Damaged is the wrong word. Ignorant is a better way of putting it. And in heavy fear, they're terrified, but they're terrified of themselves. And that's extrapolated outside, and it's enhanced by the authorities. But that's why the people have given power away to the authorities. So they've got something to blame, which gives them a sense of righteousness, which is ridiculous, because they're the ones that how can you blame something that you've got belief in, that you've given power to? But it's their fault. But this is what we're seeing on that lower timeline. There's so many areas of consciousness. There's so many areas of fear that are playing out. And I look at the whole thing as one. So if you look at your own individual fears, you will have had many different areas of fears that were needed to overcome, many different lack areas through your life. Well, what we've got is a conglomerate of that on the human collective, all playing out at once in one human mind, if you will, in one consciousness around the planet. So all of these in different countries, a country could be seen as one, and that country will be overcoming a certain lack. And then another country will be becoming another lack. Now, overall, there's a bigger lack, and all of these things are playing the fears out. So the whole collective is raising as one, but in many, many different factions or forms, like fractals of the one. And everybody that's actually overcome fears and can see this and can see that, can see different areas on the planet where this is playing out. Now, we tend to look at those areas and say, we look down on them rather than understanding it or empathizing that we did that as well in our own journeys in different ways. So, yeah, the whole thing is rising. Now, how do we assist? We can speak, we can openly talk to people, we can do lots of things. GPMS that way is one of them. But really, one of the highest and most valuable forms of assistance is accepting the truth, acceptance, self-acceptance, self-acknowledgement, and holding one's moral value and honor value to the degree that you can in the environment that you're in, and non-acceptance, absolute non-acceptance of that which is less than virtuous for you. In doing this, it negates it on the outside rather than condones it. And in doing that, that helps the higher collective frequency maintain itself and grow, which puts more pressure on that lower lack mentality to rise. So what we're doing in this respect is an inverted way of a lot of what the light workers consider, is we're not trying to push people up. We are pulling them up by holding ourselves to the principles and the higher principles and the moralities and the truth that we can, without becoming what we see, without manipulation, without demeaning, but with love and honesty for ourselves and a lack of tolerance for that which we are not. Whether or not somebody else is carrying out that part, let them, without penalizing them. They are playing out their own roles. But we must not. Otherwise, and if we get involved with it, of course, then we're emotionally attached. So this is about a more of a core, but more core knowing of what you are, more core trust that there are others around that are doing much more, and that there is a bigger picture in place, rather than putting the pressure on yourself to assist all of these ones. That doesn't mean to say that don't help the ones you can assist, but in holding yourself in that principle where those around you are not, that makes you an anomaly. That makes you an energetic anomaly, which stands out and helps to lift and pulls that frequency up. Now, we can't float anymore the lower frequency. We can't necessarily float it like we have been in that pulling it up. It's been floating this. So this has been left as a sort of comfort area where one could work through these things in their own time, if you will. Mm-hmm. This has come to an end. The time for that has come to an end, where the ones that were being floated now have got, it's untenable anymore. Mm-hmm. So we're at a point where choices must be made. Yeah. And this is where that secondary, there's probably three timelines really, but the lower timeline is if that work has not been done or is not being done, if ones are not stepping up, then they must go and do it on their own. And that is fine. Nobody gets lost. Those that on a soul level that choose to continue in a different vein, that's fine. They're not lost. But they may not exist in the frequency of a higher timeline at that point. They may need to go and do something else, and then they may come back. It's whatever happens on that divine level. But what we must be aware of reasonably, our first and foremost, is our own moral and honor and in virtuous actions, be that spoken, be that in action. And if we can carry those as an individual, then we are assisting the whole so much more than trying to argue with somebody or discuss with somebody about why they are refusing to see. It doesn't matter why they're refusing to see. Give them the information and leave them alone, and let them be with it. It's up to them to become accountable. And we are at a time now with many, many people where accountability and responsibility must be undertaken. And it can't be forced. It must be done willingly, and it must be done genuinely. So, yeah, with regards to assisting, perm any one of those, and then you can look at GPMS, and of course, there's a lot of getting the word out, sharing the word of GPMS, sharing the option and the choice without penalising those that don't see it. and answering questions without going into much depth when one's trying to find fault or details that they don't need. They're just pulling them in through lack consciousness. I just continue quickly. We were talking a little bit earlier about the money systems and all of these things and economies and capital, blah, 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 what people know to be true. Mm-hmm. And the amount of people that we've had that really want to know every fine detail about what it is we plan to do for the future, when they've got no clue about how the existing system works. So when you try to tell them what the existing system does, they don't want to know. They want to know what we're going to do, down to the micro detail. And of course, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. If they knew what the existing system did, they would not care whatever's going to happen. They would know would not be that. So people try to maintain this idea of stability, but it's false and it's fake. And it's propagandized and indoctrinated into ones that this is what humans do, and this is the cost of human life, and this is who you are and what you must be. And it's absolute bullshit. So yeah, we are there with a lot of this, and a little again round and round some houses, but it brings a lot of points into the conversation. Whether or not they're in focus yet, we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. Well, lots to comment on, lots to think about. So when you were talking about the necessity for ones to hold themselves, to remain virtuous, to stick to their beliefs that are of a higher energetic vibration, of course, that is far more effective because, of course, energy rises. If you're holding a high vibration, then everything around you is going to raise its frequency, which reminds me of the words, my favorite saying, and it's on every single email I send: be the change that you want to see in the world, my dearest Mahatma Gandhi. So with that, let's get into a little bit more about the self-worth, self-esteem, the consent, and the discernment that's required to actually be able to make that choice. Right? Because it all starts with a choice. Ones are in, and for our audience, when we say ones, we mean people, we mean individuals. And it's just a phrase that I think Rick and you have coined. Rick Dewars, your partner in GPMS, have coined. So when ones are at that precipice, that those timelines that you're talking about, the shift, there has to be an aha moment. There has to be a moment where they go, okay, you know what? This isn't working anymore. Where am I going? So for those who are actually on the evolutionary train, where they're going to jump on this new timeline, the process is the choice, the change, the evolution. So to get to that consent, to get to that level of ability to make discernment, my question is, because of all the indoctrination, because of all the programming, because of all the systems that have dumbed down humanity and crippled them with their own discernment for so long, for so many millennia, do you believe, is it your understanding that humanity actually has the ability to discern in order to be able to make the proper choice or not, or recycle again and start all over on some other planet?
This doesn't happen again. This is not about recycling again and starting on different planets. This is about raising it all in one go. This isn't about part fixes, and a lot of the information that's been given out there is about this, that, and the others. And of course, that creates complication. This is everybody's going through, and divinely, that's what's going to happen. The soul has chosen. The individuals that we see in front of us are a mess, a childish mess of fears and lacks, making choices that go against the soul. The soul is all powerful. The soul is all omnipotent. The soul has chosen. So these ones haven't got a choice. Many think they have, but they have not. And many people wish to have a choice and free will, so that they can choose the lesser options, and that's what they've been doing. That's what I know I did. And I chose lesser options because I didn't know I had another one. So in my maintenance of free will choices, I was making choices all over the place that were based on fear. In my release of free will choices, and said I have no longer got a choice, I found my honor because then you could only take one choice. You could only make the highest choice in the moment. Now, when you're talking to that choice, that option choice, I call it a gate. The first gate, like in a computer, IO, on, off, on, off, on, off. Everybody does on, offs. Everybody's this or that. Lots of people like to create complexity in the middle, but they're just reasons and justifications and excuses. You either do something that is benevolent and is honoring yourself, or you do lesser. Generally through lack mentality. Going to work is much, much lesser than honoring yourself. But people go to work because that's what they think they should do, and they attach moral and honor to it. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. You are not sent here to work all of your life for bits of paper that somebody else tells you how much you're worth and live in poverty. But that's what people think that they must do because it's honorable. Hard work. What? Hard work is actually not doing that and choosing something else that honors yourself. There's hard work, but people think sweat, equity, and toil should be what they are rewarded from. No, honor and respect is what you are rewarded on. And you don't get to state that. You get others to tell you that you are. Because you don't need to state it. You don't need to tell people what you are. They will see by the way you act. All of these things are, again, we can move all this crap away. So in the choice systems, in the gate systems, you have a choice. I am more, I am less. I am God, I am not. It doesn't matter which choice you make or which words you use. Do they honor a benevolent and the highest of all, or are they lesser? Is it compliant to something that's maintaining slavery all over the planet? Or is it non-compliant to something that's maintaining slavery all over the planet? It doesn't matter how you make these choices. It's what you can honor. And in that, making these, if you make a lesser choice, then you will go down that path until you can no longer go down it. And then you'll come back and make another choice. Right. And these paths then it becomes very, very simple for once when they start to realize, if I choose to honor my divinity, for instance, or honor my higher, or honor that which is not that, then things open up and things become smoother. If one chooses the other way, things don't open up and things become harder. And so when you make this choice, if you go one way, you will come back and you will be asked to make it again. And if you don't, then you'll go that way again and come back and ask to make it again. But if you make the other choice, then you continue and you don't come back. You get to do something else. And of course, what people have been doing is repeat, 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 because they believe themselves to be lesser than they actually are, and therefore they are not honoring their divinity, but they have a head full of reasons and justifications as to why they did things. And this is the self-righteousness. Self-righteous doesn't make it right. It just gives you full of excuses and reasons why you did certain things that you would learn better later. But it's all lessons and it's all education and it's all tools to increase and raise the frequency. The plateauing and the maintenance of what was now must cease, and it's the end of it. So those that think they can maintain that system in any way, shape, or form because they have fear will find that they are erroneous, and that they will have to make different decisions when others start to, when things become more obvious for them, they will have to come crawling back and say, yeah, I got that one wrong. As we've all done. Accountability. If that answers it somewhere near.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as you're speaking, of course, I hear 10,000 more questions. I want to take a slightly different perspective, the divine perspective. GPMS is a divine instrument, and those ones listening to us now, we're talking about how they need to make another choice to get off of this timeline, blah, 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 to raise their vibration, all of this thing. The truth is, from how I understand it, this is a duality. This reality that we're in is a duality. Everything is do this, do that, black, white, yes, no. That is the matrix, right? So there's no shame or blame for having lived that life. You said you did. I have. I don't know anybody that hasn't. So we all have to go through this process. So I just want to reach out to all brothers and sisters out there saying, hey, you know what? You know, that first time you're going to make that choice to be virtuous, not to, you know, it's going to be a little bit, you know, stressful. You may lose some friends, you may lose your social status, you may lose your job, you may lose this, you may lose that. But what you're going to gain is immeasurable, right? So maybe can you just talk about it a little bit from, because I wanna bring in that divine element, and that element where we're all doing this together. You talked about, you know, the shells, the less compassionate, the ones without, etc. Those are all children of creator also, right? So I I
Mm.
truly believe that the way we are going to get that critical mass is by reaching out with so much love and so much compassion that it's going to be shocking. It's like, what? What? Over to you.
I don't disagree. I've got to disagree with certain parts of this. You don't love that which is evil.
No, oh gosh, no. I'm not loving the
Um,
evil, but you know, the essence of the human, the essence of the there is a divinity in there, whether or not they're
you know,
behaving badly or not, right? So
it's
eventually everybody's going to get to the top of the ladder, right?
well, the evil ones, the constructs are the ones that have no frequency with them, have no soul. They don't they're gone.
They're
They're
just gone.
disappearing
Okay.
now. They have been for quite a wee while. Many fear things that are disappearing, but no, this is we are creators. We are not creation itself. We are the creators of creation. We are the energy of God. We are God. You know, this idea that we are a material, and material is all of the everything is part of the truth. It's not the whole truth. There's a lot more than that. But this concept is in the human aspect. So there's many humans here that don't know what they truly are, and there's many here that have let go of their human and become and pulled in their divine. Doesn't mean to say the human aspect is gone. It's not gone, but it's not relevant anymore. But to many, relevancy is all about them, you know, because they've been told that they are finite and that this is it, and you must do everything. But that's just not true. You're eternal. You're infinite. You always have been and always will be. But that part of this going into the psyche is very difficult. The acting in a virtuous way and losing things. This is very relevant. It doesn't matter how much you lose. You're always going to fear losing something until you have nothing left to lose. And so many, even higher ones, much higher ones, higher in consciousness. Sorry, I'm not talking about in levels. This is just in frequencies that they can hold. They're still holding on to so much because they fear losing their human. And you gain so much when you aren't that anymore. The freedom, the peace, the perspective, the foresight, the abilities, the subtle energies that you can perceive, the understanding you get, the inner standing you get, the simplicity to which you see everything which is here, so heightened, so heightened. And I'm just talking about from my perspective, you know, there's many others out there that are doing it in different energy ways. But in that way, it's so much more than what you think you are losing. But the mind and the way that the ego works and the fear systems inside each works is so powerful. But what ones must realize, and again, inside these spiritual circles and inside these other alternative ways, is your heart has no fear. So any fear in here is not coming from your heart. Everything is filtered through your heart. Every energy, everything is filtered through your heart, unless it's not. And if it's not, it comes with fear. It comes with excuses. It comes with reasons, and it comes with justifications and manipulations, all sorts of deceit. But your heart doesn't. So all of these things and lacks and fears are not coming from you. They're coming from outside of you, and they are presenting themselves in you as if they're real. They're not. this is where people are going. This is where ones are going, into their heart, so that they have no fear. There is nothing outside that could interfere with you at all. There is no option that you must take from a fear-based mind, because it all comes from here. And this is infinite, eternal, and omnipotent. So you gather so much more strength and so much more authority. It's powerful. The other way is forceful. There's no power in it. It's a weakness the other way. When the mind takes over from the defensive point of view, it's a weak masculine trait that all of humans show. This isn't about feminine, masculine. No, it's carried out by them all as a survival mechanism from a primal root chakra that is playing itself out in a monkey mind and purporting itself to be true. It isn't. It's lies and it's deceit on the inside. So these things are what we are seeing on this level, and what this is playing out is down here in a different level of consciousness. It's okay. The full understanding of this will come. But what we are doing is changing the environment for the whole of the human, let's say, experience, the souls, the souls in the human vessel, to learn and move through. What we are not doing is pandering to the old systems and the old evil and the old fear narratives at all. And we will change the whole environment and let the whole of humanity grow. But in the interim, what we're watching is the complexity from the fear-based narratives that not those in their heart are producing. And any limitation is coming from a place of either a lack of perspective, which means a decrease in frequency, so there's still fear within the vessel, or absolute fear. So if we are not seeing a fully unlimited, equal, benevolent, harmonic heaven on earth, why not? And that is not from here. That is not from where most people think that they are in their hearts. It's coming from outside, where they see reasons why we can't, and reasons why they're bad, and we can't do that because of. And all of these reasons and justifications must be left behind. But people need to see that first, and they need to see it themselves to action it themselves. They can't be told. We've tried to tell them for a long time, and it hasn't worked. So now they must see it. And all the information, as you well know, is there for ones to follow, for ones to raise, as long as they trust another. But at the moment, trust is a problem because they don't trust themselves. So we're seeing this extrapolated backwards.
Yeah, that's another level of that's another level of understanding. So all the time you were talking, I kept hearing like Dr. David Hawkins' power versus force analogy. So the truth is that the whole paradigm of 3D, what we're in, has been based on power over. Right. So I think what you're talking about a little bit is humanity is used to, I have to be powerful in order to gain something. I have to have power over others in order to step over, in order to get somewhere, in order to achieve blah, blah, blah. So the truth is, it's actually what you're talking about. The force that one gains from going inside.
Other way around.
Sorry.
Force over others, power over self. Power is the other way around. Force at the bottom, power at the top on the Dawkins chart.
Okay. I see how indoctrinated I've been. Even I got it wrong.
All right, it's all good. It's all good.
So,
but the power that one gains has got no anger. There's no force. There's no distortion with it. It's just
but it is the frequency. It's the clarity of the frequency. It's the benevolence. I mean, as soon as you're trying to manipulate, dominate anyone, there is no high. The frequency drops. I mean, it's horrible. So the truth is we when we step into our honor, our virtue, all of those things that you were talking about, regain our sense of self-worth, we gain a particular kind of energy, which you call force, which attracts like to ourselves. And that's how I sort of see in my brain the critical mass growing.
It will. Yes.
Right. Okay, over to you.
That's the point of the rising, the point of the virtue. But the interesting thing, and I like to use Dawkins, I don't know, chart, because other people have seen it. But what it takes is courage. At the point of trigger, activation, whatever, feeling of injustice, sense of injustice, something's gone, they've done that to me, blame. Now, at that point, it takes courage of self-acceptance to go into acceptance and therefore rise in your power, not forth. You rise in your inner authority rises if you use courage of acceptance, but you don't create blame because you realize it wasn't them, it was you. Nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. So if you believe another is attacking you or has created an injustice, you are making it up. And making it up, the story comes from pride. I know better.
Yeah.
I'm self-righteous. That's wrong. Blah, blah, blah. And there's your drop into force. And now you're going to start to force the other. Now you're going to start to force the issue. Now you're going to start to dominate and control it rather than just powerfully not accept it. And one's versions of the truth are not yours. This is the thing. You don't need to argue yourself. You don't need to argue your version of what happened. You can let them speak about whatever they want because there's nothing hitting you. You're not feeling a sense of injustice. You're seeing it for what it is, as opposed to what your mind is telling you it is. And this is where pride drops, courage rises, and courage requires integrity. Courage requires fortitude. Courage requires an actionable choice, which is different to the vast majority of choices you made in the past where it was pride. And these are one's own inner work. Some call them shadows, some call them things. I don't necessarily need to go down that route because I can do it through the action and just speak to where that came from rather than asking ones to go and do the work on that way. Now you can see it through their actions. You can see it through what they're saying and how they're acting. So you can inform them then of their distortion. I call it distortion, or disharmonic is a better way of calling it. You can inform them of their disharmonic without any force. There's no force involved. There's just pure power and authority. So, and what I can also say with this is when you do that, if you do not accept what they are trying to say, if they go into pride and they are into pride, at this point where you get a choice, if you fall with them into an argument, well, okay, that's what you're doing. But if you rise, they will fall and they will get angry and they will get angrier and they will get angrier and they will become childlike and they will make up all sorts of stories. But as they do, you will rise in your authority and you will see more and more of what it is that they are showing you, and you will recognize it in yourself from when you were a child and maybe didn't get a lollipop or didn't get something that you wanted, how it's acting out in front of you. It's not against you. It's not about you. It's what they are holding. And you can therefore help them from a different way. You can benefit them much better if you're in control of your own emotional states. But this is, it sounds very simple, but it gets very complicated inside the minds.
Well, yeah, ergo the compassion that I spoke of before. I mean, it takes a lot of compassion to hold yourself at a higher frequency because exactly like you said, you're going to get a lot of people trying to bounce off of you and bring you down because they're so uncomfortable. If when they're faced with the fact that they're very clearly not behaving in a virtuous way, but you're right, the pride overcomes, the ego overcomes, and they are going to fight for their limitations to the last breath until, bang, here we go again. Just like you said, bang, here we go again. Until you get to that point, okay, I'm tired of banging up against that wall. What's the next level? And then they make that choice. So the other thing I was hearing was, okay, so move over, Dr. David Hawkins. Lee Mudway is going to write a new book, and it's called Courage versus Pride.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could write masses on that because I've been assisting, let's say. See, what I can openly state is that there's a mechanic involved in both of these. A mechanic, I call it a biorhythm or an algorithm. It's algorithmic. It's a rhythm of it. So when one's drop into pride, they are going to descend exactly the same way as they would have ascended, but in a negative way as opposed to a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So I can talk to the whole descent into child states and into absolute humiliation and
Mm-hmm.
self-righteousness, but I can also talk to the lack of self-accountability, the maintenance of the blame continuously, the never forgiving of yourself, the constant belief that you were right, as opposed to the other could have had a point, the constant pinning something on the outside world rather than the acceptance that it was you. So inside of each of us, inside of the experiences, or inside of certainly the human collective now, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of arrogance, there's a lot of self-righteousness, there's a lot of distrust and mistrust, and there is very little empathy relative inside situations where ones think that they know better. Who knows better? These ideas are just mute, and what we've had is this duality concept put in there, where there is a right and a wrong. No, there isn't. There's just the truth. That's it. Both sides of it don't make any difference. There's only the truth. So there's no heads or tails. There's just silver. There's a coin. But everybody's believing that there's this idea in duality. You must do this to understand that. No, you mustn't. You must just know the truth. And if you hold that truth and that core truth, then you have nothing to defend. But so many are defending all the time their stance or their position. You say something that's innocuous and somebody's trying to defend themselves because they've personalized it. Mm-hmm. They've emotionally taken it on board and said that was about me. No, it wasn't. Why is everything about you? And this idea, so all of this is what we are seeing in this bickering and monkey throwing shit at each other. And it's like this going on. It's a children's tea party out there, and everybody wants to be the biggest one in the playground. And they're all in corners trying to throw punches at each other from self-righteousness and preaching to others. And oh man, but this isn't about what we can see. This is about those that understand this actually standing up and saying, you know what, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be that anymore. I don't wish to represent myself as my divine self or my higher self as that anymore. And what we're seeing now is more and more willing, able, and looking to go down that route. Yes, there's a lot of distraction, and yes, there's still a lot of paths sideways. But the more that have gone down that route have cut a path through the frequencies, so that these other frequencies on the sides are not as available, and there's a vacuum coming up the middle, which is pulling or sucking up the consciousnesses. They're finding it faster, quicker, easier, and I wish for everybody out there that this is done in a blink of a finger, blink of an eye for you, so that self-accountability can be garnered. You can take responsibility and humble yourself to the point of self-recognition, and say and make amends. Say to people what it was that you saw you did. Stop telling them what they did, and see how much better you feel when you take that self-accountability. I would openly suggest for everybody, but you can't do this from a place of superficiality or fraud. You must do it openly.
Exactly. And whatever the system is, whatever is going on, we played a part in creating it, like it or not, right?
Yeah.
We did.
But yes, okay, on that concept,
on a galactic
I agree.
level. Yeah, on a galactic.
No, even then, see, when you mentioned third dimension, this isn't anymore. This is fourth.
Yes,
most people don't realize that. It's third. Yeah. But the whole, it wasn't Gaia that fell. It was the galaxy. It was this that fell. That it was, yeah. So you could say lots of things about what we created, but what we have done is purport and maintained it. There is serious consideration to the violations of universal law on a human level. There have to be. There is serious, and it's repulsive. Okay. And it must be, so that we release it as a collective. But the higher ones must as well see it as repulsive, see this behavior now as repulsive. Otherwise, they'll get bogged into it and entangled in it and emotionally value it in some ways. And it mustn't be. This must be left behind, and it will be. And this is God's law. This is a proclamation by the divine. This isn't about some concepts. This is by what's happening, or a belief system. This is what's holding most people back, is belief systems.
Right.
The simple one is creation has proclaimed and declared that this is what's happening, and this is what we are here to do, and this is what's happening with Gaia and humanity. So people can argue semantically all they wish, or just accept that and get on board.
So thank you. Yeah, that's it. Hello. So
I know.
hello. Pretty me. Yeah. Anyway, so all of the things that we're talking about here, we're moving on to coming close to an hour. So the last thing I would really love for you to take us through, Lee, the fundamental, I always like getting down to the very bottom of it. Fear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How long you got?
Fear, yeah. Yeah. How long exactly? Well, the computer's plugged in, so we can go for a long time.
Well, listen, let's keep going. I've got no problem with an hour, 2 hours. It doesn't make any difference. But
okay, very
good. Where would you like to go?
I am very interested in discussing the fundamentals of fear, how it's been used against us, and the mechanisms and ways that we can, each one individually, take away from this conversation to have some tools to actually address their fears. I personally had about a month and a half ago had something happen that called up the very bottom, from the bottom of my being, an absolute like just terrified, a terrified response. And of course I spoke with Brother Rick, and it was wonderful because he explained to me, listen, that's the dregs of your fear. That's it. You're done. That was the last one. But it was terrifying. It was terrifying. So,
yeah,
it's not for the faint of heart. Neither is aging, but that's another story. I like to be.
Let me ask you a question. Was the fear terrifying? Or, sorry, was what happened terrifying? Or was it the stories that came into your mind that terrified you?
The stories that the oh my God, this is going to happen now, and then it's going to be this slippery slope, and blah blah blah. So I had created this whole story that was an outcome to one simple occurrence that I could, like, now in hindsight, I'm like, what the hell were you thinking? But it's not about thinking, it's about reacting. Right. Yes. So it's that instinctual, I don't know, reptilian brain, like, ah! Right. And until we can sort of overcome that, right. And because I could not see my way through it. I had to go through a really bad time for like 72 hours of, and I mean, I've done a lot of work, right? And for me to get to that point where it just broadsided me. So the beautiful thing was, as soon as Brother Rick, said, listen, have a look at this. It's not real.
Put it in perspective.
You're creating this, right? And if Creator wants you here, you're going to be here. If he doesn't, you're not going to be. When you're in alignment, that's the freedom, that's the beauty, that's the bliss, right? So it's the fears that have been used against us to keep us on that rat track, right?
The fears. Let's look at the fears. Let's look at the fear spectrum. Let's look at the Dawkins chart again, and say they're pride. They're down in the bottom. They're not at the top. The frequencies that this planet and this construct has been maintained under were fear, negative, reversal frequencies. This was part of the machinery, mechanics, and all the rest of it, the dark ones, to maintain a oppression and suppression of the soul here, i.e. constant fear. The heart, therefore, was very, very seldom used, if at all, because the heart took courage Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that people are heartless. What I'm saying is they didn't often at all listen to their hearts. They were listening to stories that their mind was creating from a survival mechanism that they received before they were 6. So prior to you even knowing, you've already got a survival mechanism, or what they would call ego, and you've already got fears of not having things because it doesn't make any difference. There's fears of lack that have been imparted since you were born, and that creates a fear of survival, a fear of survival. And the ego is a beautiful mechanism in hell, which is, again, let me state, this was hell. It is no longer, because it is raised up, and those that were in charge are no longer. There is just some minions and some remnants left. But the fear and the ego was required to suppress the fear and create stories, which meant that you didn't face those fears, which was so terrifying when you were younger. So in respect, what the ego needed to do was to deceive you. It needed to tell you stories that kept something else away from your sight, so you couldn't see it. It was terrified of it, and that's what it did. It created stories to deceive. You are your biggest storyteller, your biggest conspiracy. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. Biggest conspiracy theorist. So when things happen from a frequency within you that is reminiscent or holds an earlier input, people call them traumas, but they're not traumas. They're an event that has created a distortion within the field. It has a negative memory attached to it. Mm-hmm. You have a field around you. You can call it your body if you wish. And inside of that are trillions of spinning molecules or atoms or parts of creation. They have a positive spin and a negative spin. If they're held with a negative frequency within them, or negative spin within them, they can stay in your field. But what happens is if the fear or something comes in that the ego needs to hide, it will go through that negative frequency. It will send a frequency through that negative frequency, bypassing the heart into the mind, and the mind will create all sorts of stories to keep you safe. It's them, and in survival mode and pitted there. And these stories are formidable. These stories are all powerful. And the problem is that once you read the story, once you go into the story and start to believe it, you have dropped into pride and fear. And the more you go down this route, the more overcoming it becomes. It becomes, you can't see anything. You can't do anything. You're frozen. All of your options are gone. All of them. You've lost your light. You're dropping into darker frequencies, which you are holding within your own vessel, your own body. Now, what you found was it took you 72 hours to breathe and work through them, right? You can do that a lot quicker when you're aware of your thoughts, and when there's not this overpowering nature cannot come in. But you must understand it to be able to do it and catch it quicker. So as soon as there's a thought that's negative, or as soon as there's a thought that's fearful or of a lack or of something outside, it is not you. It is not you. It may come from within you, but as soon as you say no and you put it into your heart, I will not accept that. Mind, no, shh. Then the heart can harmonize it, and that negativity that was held within you disappears. It can't be utilized again by the ego. You're seeing the truth. You're not believing your lies. This assists to harmonize all of these negative spectrums within you. Now, these can be overpowering. These can be, anxiety, and all of these things are smaller versions of this, where ones are fearful of what could happen in the future. Why? If I do this, they're going to do that. Why? All of these are false. They're lies. No, you do the best. You do your highest, and you act in your moral virtue. Whatever happens outside of you, it makes no difference to you. It's nothing to do with you. You have honored yourself. And a lot of people think that this is the other way around. Now, in this way, you override those, and you reprogram the ego. You can't be deceived by yourself anymore. And kind of this is a way of me looking at it without the feelings and emotions and all the rest of these things. It's, what are you thinking? And what are you saying? What are you acting like? What's your action? Where's the intention of that action? Where's the intention of that word? Is it coming from purity, heart, eternal life, and power, authority? Or is it coming from weakness? If it's coming from weakness, it's not from you. It's from something within you but you're believing it. Why are you believing it? And each has a choice as to what they believe, as much as everybody else would tell you, you must believe this or you must. No.
Right.
You have a choice of what you believe.
Exactly.
And when you find out that everything you used to believe was a lie, then you have a much more of a choice about what you would believe. And you choose what you believe. And this is where discernment, as you said earlier, comes in. Is it pure? Is it? So what I'm saying here is that with discernment, you don't necessarily need discernment. What you need to do is trust your heart. If you see that what you're saying has got nothing to do with manipulation, profit or loss, taking from somebody else, blaming, it's all about purity, love, and benevolence, then it's from the heart. If it isn't, it's from outside of the heart, and therefore it's not from your discernment, it's from your fears.
Exactly.
Kind of an easier way of looking at it. But so the fear that you went through, many will be going through these, let's say, final releases into trust. Now, in the release of self-accountability, and once you start to realize that you've got, you're going to probably now, beautiful sister, be looking for any more of these. This one popped in. Where did it come from? It got me for 72 hours. So you're going to be monitoring a little bit whether or not that happens again. Now, many others have done this with triggers, and they're looking for these different things, but they don't understand necessarily what they are. And many don't realize that triggers can come in many different ways. They're not just when you descend into anger, but when you get frozen by something, or you think, or you act under something. So the ideas are to understand. What I look to is to understand the mechanics, not the new age stuff and all of the other things, but understand you, understand yourself. Be you, just be. Stop being something that you believe, and let go of those concepts, and let the mind be a slave to the heart, as opposed to the master who thinks it knows everything. It doesn't. It's pointless like that. It's useless as a master, but brilliant, absolutely phenomenal if you let the heart speak through it. And I will openly say that I have got no clue as to what I said today to you. I've not remembered any of what I've just said. It's not coming from here. Yeah. It's coming from a place that this is just putting it into words. Don't get me wrong, I could repeat it over and over again in a different way, because it's from one place of truth, not from a place of complexity or manipulation. No. And each will be getting to this core, this solidity themselves, their true essence, their higher being, their divinity. And that's how this is how we are walking. This is how we are. And this is how we will be on a larger scale. And this is where we carry ourselves with honor, we carry ourselves with virtue, and we trust the others do, because we have trust in ourselves and we know what they are as well, and so do they. So these things open everything up, but at the moment, very difficult. We can just talk to it and be it. And so thank you so much for going through, or divinely thank you for going through the release of that. And Brother Rick mentioning to you that it's the last one. That means you're harmonized. That means you're going now into fuller trust in yourself and more authority. I'm not saying that you didn't have it prior, but now I'm talking about going into it. Yes, monitoring these things, but watch what happens as that rises now, because that little bit that's still within you isn't there anymore. It's fascinating. It's beautiful. It's tedious. It's tedious to watch. And it's tedious to go through, but it's so exciting in times, and it's so addictive. And these things as you rise, and this is without talking about all the parapsychological and paranormal toys, and the telepathies and all the rest of it yet.
Yeah.
So fabulous.
Those are lots of fun. My cats talk to me all the time. Yes, thank you. So I have to say that when you were talking about moving into the authority, there is a feeling that I have never in this incarnation experienced before, where I am, how do I put this? When you're growing up and you're like, oh, what does this person think? Or what does that person think? Or, should I do this? Should I, all of those levels and layers and layers and layers. And I'm at that point now. Well, I don't care. I know what I'm doing. I am in my heart. I am making this choice. I stand by my choice. I stand by my energy, and I am completely free in having made that decision, having made that choice. I don't have any of that stuff over my head anymore. And I have to
No.
say, how I just want to share that with everyone, that it is the most liberating feeling to be able to step into your power, right? It's the true power. If I had it wrong the other way, they're just words, but you know what I'm saying.
Empowering. Empowering.
Empowering. Yes.
Right.
So it
And enlightening.
and exactly, but it's beneficial to everyone. It's not just about an I, me, my position. This is, there's an old Native American saying, if it isn't good for everyone, it isn't good, right?
Yeah, Ubuntu as well. Same. If it's no
There
good for
you
everybody, it's
go.
no good for anybody.
There you go.
The equality is what see when you know what you are, then you know what they are, or you know what the other is, certainly in this experience anyway, to a degree, and therefore you can offer the respect, the equality, the empathy, and the release, that's the word, release of the other's opinion, the other's points, because you know what you are, and they can
Mm.
tell you all sorts of things about what they think you are or what they think's happening, but you know your truth and you can't be swayed from it, and it's for you to alter, not for another to tell you to. So you'll do
Right.
it in kindness, you'll do it in reflection, you'll do it when it's right for you, not when somebody's telling you to, because you're already solid, you have a foundation which is stable, it's unshakable, it's unbreakable. All of these things become your authority. The You can swing the sword of, you can wield the sword of truth, vehemently and very, very succinctly, concisely, because you're not feared of it yourself.
Yep.
You've already, as I said before to one, and I found I was kind of like shocked myself in the moment about justice has never been served on this planet. And I said, yeah, I know for one it has. I served myself justice. I
Mm.
know justice was. I'm not talking about the justice you're talking about. I have no fear of the sword of truth, and I can wield it. I fell on it. And
I love
yes, it
that.
was an interesting tool. But that sort of truth has to be done with honor. It has to be done with worth. It has to be done with virtue. Otherwise, it's fake. It's blunt. And
Love
like I
that.
said to one, you don't want to walk around with a limp sword, do you?
Mm. Mm.
So these things
No, not
are
at all.
these, it's got to be honest to yourself. So yeah, all of this empowers, and you'll feel that growth. You can
Oh,
say something to somebody
it
that's
was
perfectly
palpable.
true.
Yeah, it was palpable. It was like all of a sudden it was like, whew, okay. And yes, it did try to sneak in a couple of times, and all I kept hearing was Brother Rick going, "Do you not think that all like Creator has your back? Like come on."
Trust,
And then I went,
trust.
trust. And it was like, heck, absolutely. 300. And I'm like, la di da di da. Now I'm fine. I'm good. Just like fearless, fearless. So please, everyone, it's there. If I can do it, if Lee can do it, we can all do it, right? That's why
All
we're
will,
you know,
all will,
all will.
all are.
So be it, and so it is. So I wanted to go back now to one more thing. So, oh, we're just going all over the place. I love it. We're talking about the ego, and it has its purposes. Now, my teacher, my Melchizedek teacher, my other Melchizedek teacher, Jonathan C.R. Davies, wrote a little book called The Ego, Friend or Foe. And I actually taught a self-mastery course not too long ago, and I was really diving deep into this concept of what exactly the mechanism of the ego is. And in terms of the work that I understand, the ego, of course, it has a function. It has a function to create the illusion of separation from God so that we can have the experience of separation and go through the process of coming to that point where we can make that choice to join the higher timeline, so to speak, once again. So as star seeds, as those aspects, we come here It's part of the forgetting. So the ego is part of the mechanism that creates the illusion of separation from God. So once you get to that point where the dissolution of the fears has occurred, the discernment is there to make the choice. One feeds oneself the justice, one leaves behind the prideful justification. The ego actually needs to be given a new job because it doesn't need to create the illusion of separation anymore, because you know there is no separation anymore. You've come back full circle to realizing that you are God, you are an aspect, you are fractal, you are infinite. So that ego at that point is given another job. So basically we tell the ego, okay, fine, well, you can just keep looking out for me, just let me know if there's something there that I need to look at on a practical level. But anything other than that, thanks a lot, you've done your job, good on you. Thoughts?
I don't necessarily agree with the storyline, because it contains rationalization of what was, or an attempted rationalization. It contains ideologies of forgetfulness being a requirement here, as if it is as a fact. No, it's happened, but it doesn't mean to say, as I said, there was a drop in frequency. The souls were here and then dropped. So what happened here, we can't say is what happens there. We can say it was in this environment where there was a recirculation of souls. So whatever we consider these things to be are a constitute in here. We can't say they're there. So this idea of what was before this drop must be allocated. So all of the concepts that we have to rationalize and generalize this experience that is experiential must have the other side of it, that is the opposite of what actually is true, because we don't know so much up here. So I don't necessarily, as I say, I am fully of the opinion that this experience, for however long it's been, was not of the soul choice for soul growth. Therefore, whatever's happened within it was not necessarily what you would consider to be the norm inside experiences, inside creation, in my mind. Now, and that doesn't negate what you've said. What it says is I do not agree with it. So in that aspect, gravy. Now, with regards to the ego and it's putting it into its position later, yeah, but I use my ego spirit not as a spiritual ego, but as a spiritual tool. Mm-hmm. It gives me authority. Where it told me all the stories and gave me all the stories before, now it gives me the solidity to say, yes, bang. It doesn't create stories. What it does is it holds them. So it's stoic. It's a stoic. It's a, you could say it's a sense of self, but it's inside of I is a knowing that it's all. So it's not an individuality or creating that. What it's creating is a stoicism, a strength, rather than the weakness it was doing before to hide things. Now it's opening things up and holding them. So it has a function. It doesn't, it's just changed its function. It's not a deceiver anymore. It's not under the control of an external force.
Exactly.
Now it's fully divine, and now it can offer its authority in a different way than it was doing prior. So I love what, the stories of rationalization and putting things into boxes to make them fit into what's been experienced is great, but many haven't unlimited that into, is that a universal truth? Many have considered it to be an experiential truth that is universal. I question on the universal level whether that's the truth, but experientially, it seems to have been. Yes.
Okay, so my question is, it's experiential, so it's real for us. Now, did we actually forget? Did we actually forget? But we have forgotten. So what is the mechanism? So how did that come about?
Frequency.
So you're saying it wasn't a choice then? It wasn't a choice as a starseed. We chose.
Oh, coming back. No. We're here. Yeah, we had a human experience and therefore had to undergo the same frequency levels, etc. as a human did.
I'm talking about starseeds.
In that aspect. Yeah. But bearing in mind that you would have come from whatever dimension you did and dropped into a third dimensional hell. Yeah. Now at that point, You couldn't bring with you your memory. You had a game. You had to do. See, one of the things I've conjectured with is self-correcting code. Now, I talk to these things as if this is technical data. I'm not talking like that. Within the self is 35 trillion cells, universes. Each one is a spinning molecular universe of infinite value and infinite energy on the atomic scale or the very small scale. But this is fractal. What was I saying? Yeah, inside of those, a lot of these would have had negative spins. So inside the fields of each, there's a negative spin held within quite a lot of the universes within the vessel. Disease is a negative spin within the physical, right? Yep. Which shows people or disharmony and distortion. So many were carrying many distortions within their vessels. Yep. Now, I look at that as a coding. Each one of these is coded to spin a certain way and spin backwards. Now, when X amount of higher ones came to this mission, whatever, in the way I'm looking at it, what we have done is proof of concept of self-correcting code.
Right.
Insert some light, and watch it self-correct.
Right.
And what we've done on an individual level, and certainly what I did, was self-correct from a small start, at the bottom of despair, whatever you want to call it, a small light, and then it self-corrected. It went through the whole system and integrated. So what we've effectively done is shown that with a small piece of love, a small piece of hope or courage, if you take it seriously and then work with it from a place of absolute despair, absolute emptiness, you can grow a magnificent back to the magnificence that you are by yourself in hell. Now, on the whole level, that's what I see each is doing. We've proven that given an opportunity in this landscape, let's call it, it doesn't matter how tormented, how distorted, or how indoctrinated or damaged you were. Given an environment where an insertion of something within, code or hope or something, drive within, you can completely self-correct regardless of the environment. Now, what we would wish to do now in Divinely is to change the whole environment to allow that to happen to enable it to happen for the whole of humanity in a heaven environment, as opposed to try to do it in the frequencies of hell. But the frequencies of hell are gone. It's just the belief that is still there, So each is still in their own hell. Yes, it's still a fourth dimensional area, but many are still in their own hell, but it's created in here. Yep. And shown on the television and everywhere else. It's not anywhere else. We know it's not hell relatively anymore, even if it is a purgatory. But that's for each to clear themselves and move into that higher line. So, yeah, I've forgotten what I was saying now because I sort of went off track. But I think
we were going. It was the ego and stoicism. You talked about it going from just there to fullness, the self-correcting code, all of the
self-correcting. So I've seen this with many. Many are holding on to a lack mentality or fearing they're going to lose something of themselves, whilst self-correcting, which is plateauing. So they get to certain levels and then think they know it all, they think they've got it. Well, this is just the inverted use of the ego and self-righteousness, but it can't maintain. So as we know, you're going to go into and bang into a wall sooner or later and have to rethink. I just recommend to people that they rethink before they hit the wall. They don't need to go that far. You can make choices a lot earlier than waiting until it's intolerable to self-correct. But nevertheless, each does what they need to do, and even though from a higher level it's unnecessary, for them it's necessary. So it's an unnecessary necessary event. But many have many of these, and these are now being ceased. These unnecessary events are being ceased, so only the necessary ones happen, and that will impact ones heavier. We are where we are.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think we're going back to what Gandhi said: be the change that you want to see in the world. Anything that we can affect on the outside has to begin with the transformation, the internal, the self-correcting code, that trust right?
Trust and love. Trust
Trust
and love.
and love.
Self-directed code sounds a little bit robotic and AI.
Yeah.
It on a higher level, it's kind of technical, but trust and love. That'll do. But in yourself, not in this externalized world. Trust yourself. Trust that is more, but trust it's all within, and love that. To whatever. I my termination for the word. I don't know what love means. Right. I've given up on trying to work out what love means. It's got such a massive range of ideologies and things. So I can use the word love, but I basically use the word truth instead of love. So I carry truth. Being true to myself and being true to others is the most loving and kind I can be. So I've changed the word love to truth. So if you can hold a level of truth which is unshakable and in trust of the inconceivable, but full knowing that it's there and it's fact, it's not a fiction, then you are the most loving you can be, and you will hold the most honor and value for everything around you, and equality as well for it all around you that you could possibly hold in this environment. The more truth you can hold, and I'm not talking about complication, I'm talking about simplicity here. The easier and the more authority you can walk with, and you can share that truth with your brothers and sisters with nothing. There's no. It's just purity. It's much purer. And you can see this in telepathy and all the rest of these things. Nothing can be hidden. It's all known, and you can see it. So therefore, they can see in you what they may be missing in themselves, and therefore self-correct or reflect with more truth within themselves, etc., etc. So yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I just in my way of looking at it, people will say, "Oh, too conscious. You're too conscious. You're not thinking about it." It doesn't matter which way you look at it. The truth is the truth is the truth. It doesn't need to be argued. And once you understand a little bit more of the truth and you can hold on to that, a lot of the things you used to do, you would never do again.
Oh, exactly. Well, it is a journey, right? It's a journey.
Yes.
One of us, it's a journey. And, I also love that. I'm full of sayings today. I also love Ram Dass saying, we're all here just walking each other home. I love that. I always have loved that. And I feel that very much. In terms of the work that I do, the energetic work that I do, the people that, the ones that I work with, there's never a concept that, oh, I know something that's going to fix you. Quite the opposite. I'm usually blown over by what I learn from the ones that come to learn from me, and I'm learning from them, and it's so beautiful. And then we become friends, and then they go on to attract others that come to learn from them, and then they learn from them, and it becomes this beautiful circle. So really, GPMS, I have to say, having gotten to know you more and gotten to know Brother Rick also some more, it feels to me on a very profound level that GPMS really is an extension of who you both are, and it's radiating out there, and it is doing its job to attract the ones that are going to ultimately create this critical mass, this tilt in critical mass, and make this world a better place for everyone. And we don't even need to talk about the money. We don't even need to talk about all of the yucky mucky stuff down there, right? Just let's go up here.
No.
Yeah, let's just go up here. I'm being, metaphorical. Just up here, be that truth, be that, grow from the despair, because we've all had the despair experience. Grow into the fullness, trust, search out others, like reach out. If I'm talking to to everyone out here, reach out to those who hold that frequency. Just hang out with them. Just hang out with them. It's gonna rub off, right? Join groups, join GPMS. But there's so many beautiful people here. So many beautiful people here that will blow you away with their truth, with their swords of truth. So I think there's a lot of people out there looking for videos, looking for information. Okay, how do I do this? What do I do? Blah, blah. Very succinctly, Lee, I'd like to wrap this up. Let them know. Go ahead.
Release the idea that you need to find truth. Release the idea you need to look inside. Feel, as I said before, what's the mind saying? Every limited thought your mind says, release it. Say, no, I'm more than that. Choose I am more than that, rather than keep choosing I am less. At whatever level you are, choose I am more, not I am less. At whatever level you are, see more in the other than you may think that there is there. In whatever level you are, try to empathize more with how another may be feeling, and then empathize more with how you would have reacted when you remember these things. All of this is about self-value. Value yourself. Garner your worth. Don't give it away. Each time you create a blame, you take a part of you and you throw it outside. And these blames have no representation in reality. They are manipulation. And that takes you to go and fetch it back. You've got to go and make it right. Stop doing that. Keep your value within. Allow things to be without you having to impact them. Sit back more. Observe more. Stop being it or stop doing it. Sit back more. Look at it. Allow your perspectives to open rather than keep closed-minded. These are relatively simple on certain levels. In seeking information, look at the purity to which they give it and look at whether they want anything from you for it, and look at whether or not there's limitation within its spectrum. Even if it seems unlimited, it will become limited in your mind once you start to understand it a little bit further. At that point, leave. Don't keep following things that create limitation within you. If it's things like this, because it's such a large consciousness within this, it's kind of giving the truth is this: always believe that you are more. Always know that you are more. Do not let the belief that you are less consume you, because it will consume you, and you will have to then repair the damage, or harmonize. You will have to harmonize and recalibrate for another level and do the same tests again, do the same lessons again to ensure that you've learned it later. I don't know at what point divinely this stops. But there has to be a level of collective work and effort before divinely it can be switched, it seems. So we are in the point where the simplest choice, the simplest answer is always believe that you are more. Never let anything tell you you are less, but never do it egoically.
Right. Always
pride will cause
know that you are more. Always know that you are more. Always know that you are more. I like to say things 3 times because that's when we
perfect. And the thing with GPMS quickly, last little thing is, should
absolutely.
you wish,
I was going to say let's go through the mechanics of joining and how do you jump on board?
So what we've done is kept it as clean and as simple as we can by making it, what we're talking to here is simple. And yes, thank you so much for pointing out that the principles of virtues and honor and compassion and empathy. Rick shows, a lot more of the one side of the feminine aspect, almost the mothering aspect, and this is the other side of it. But either way, this is what's been instilled into GPMS as its fundamental core. So there's nothing in here that's going to take anything from you. It gives everything to you. It acts upon what I've just spoken to in the last hour and a half. It gives you the opportunity to know that you are more, and each within it will prove that to you by showing you. The way you join, the way you consent, the way that you unite is by giving your name and saying yes please. That's it. We don't ask anything from you. We don't ask anything of you. If you wish to subscribe, if you wish to what's the word? Contribute. If you wish to assist, then you do it in your own way, because guess what? You're a God. You don't need others to tell you how to do it. So self-drive is what we're looking for, self-determination, self-accountability, and self-responsibility, funny enough, because you are more. And each that joins and knows that they are more will move into those areas and start to work for themselves, for the collective, selflessly rather than selfishly. So in this is the way GPMS has been set up and the way it must work divinely, because each is equal. And therefore, if they are being directed as to what to do, they are acting from a lesser place. And this is not the time for that. This is the time for you acting from your higher places. So you can just consent. You can just say yes, please, and leave it at that. If you wish to assist, then please do in whatever way you feel. And GPMS is ours, all of ours. It's not theirs. It's ours. It's for the human species. This is being given by Prime Creator God, if you will, whatever you wish, for humanity as a vehicle to raise into civilization as opposed to savagery. And each must choose that. And whilst you're maintaining the old, you are saying, I am lesser than I am more. It's the other path. So each will do this. Each will choose it. It's a matter of time. It's inevitable. We would just prefer it to be a bit quicker, but it is what it is. Yeah, I know. So onwards we go, and the numbers are growing and they are increasing, and there's more and more hearing about it. But we need our brothers and sisters. We are not, there's no funding in this. We're not creative. We're not taking funds. We're not any of this. It's all voluntary, because that's the way it must be. Humanity must pull themselves out, not be paid to do it or wish for payment to do it. The ones that have the money can utilize it. The ones that haven't, do what you can. It doesn't matter, but everybody will. So consider GPMS as the true future, not the ones that's written in the books or not the ones that's prophesied. But this is the prophecies true. This is all of the older prophecies coming true, but not in the way that people may think. And one last thing, when people are still talking about Christ will return and these ideas, yeah, Christ is here. 4.8 million and counting of us right now.
That's right.
If you're looking for another Christ to turn up, keep looking. When you're ready, come back to GPMS and we'll be here waiting for you.
That's right.
Love you all.
300%. In conclusion, I've just been looking at your logo, and as we're talking, I'm just seeing this heaven on earth where not only adults are making this choice, because we always think, you think about who you are first, you think about the adult. I think about the children growing up in this environment with these concepts and this kind of heaven on earth being a reality. And so I'm just looking at your logo and I'm just seeing a bridge to heaven being created.
And not back down again, though. Not back down again.
No, not back down. No. It's world. It stops at world. So we're creating.
Yeah. So this will be the hell.
Yeah, that's right.
And this will be the heaven, and it stays up here. And it's beautiful you mentioned children, because this GPMS also, we accept the consent, or not the alignment, if you will, or the accord or the agreement of a child 1 minute old. This is for every soul in a vessel on this planet. It's not for the adults. In fact, I wish it was just for the children. It would be done a lot quicker, less complication.
Yeah.
But GPMS works on the basis that humanity owns and is guardian of every single piece of infrastructure on this planet, essentially, essential infrastructure, and that GPMS is the collection vote to regarner control, guardianship, ownership of that which is humanity's, not that which was taken by the demonics and purported to be theirs. So this idea of they said, no, we are going to take back all of the essential services, goods, and everything else under humanity. We're going to open the financial systems up simply and share equally all of the benevolence. I think what we said at the moment, every man, woman, and child at inception receives $20,000 per month. Administrations for each country are totally unlimited. There is no restriction in funding. They utilize whatever funds they need with what resources they have to benefit the people in the fastest possible way, whilst releasing all hidden technologies and all other concepts that were obfuscated from humanity to keep them in harm. All of this opens up when the people choose. The people believe at the moment that somebody else is doing it for them. Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
We are doing it for ourselves, guys. This is where we are, or it's being done by all, not by some.
Well, fundamentally, if we believe that we can only incite change from within, how can it be possible that somebody else could do it for you from without? It doesn't make
Yes.
it doesn't make
Illogical, as Spock would say. But yeah, anything that's illogical is anti-Christos, anti-logos. It's illogical. If it makes no sense logically, if it doesn't defeat, if Occam's, it doesn't work, and then it's not from the heart.
It is not from the heart. Well, Lee, this conversation was definitely from the heart. And thank you so much. Let's not wait another year to have another one.
I was about to say that. Let's see how things go, because I believe at this stage having these types of conversations and may be of more assistance than some of the other stuff that we've been doing, even though that's of assistance to GPMS. But this may go out to a different way.
Mhm.
I was a little bit less GPMS oriented in this one, my beautiful sister, because it's, we can let me head down, but talk about some more things than I generally would inside another sort of meeting with GPMS. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And whenever you wish, next time.
Well, let's do it. Thank you so, so much for today. I know it's very late for you where you are, and I'm about to start my day. So, and I just love that. There we are on opposite sides of the planet, connecting in our hearts and connecting through GPMS to do good for the highest and greatest good of all. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
All right.
Love to everybody. Love to you all. We got this. This is inevitable. It's divine. It's happening. Let's get on with it.
Let's do it. So be it, and so it is. Yay! Bye.
Bye-bye.